Alrighty, hi everybody, welcome. We will get started in just a few minutes. We're going to give some people some time to join, and then we're going to start to talk to Mike today from Fundbox. Fund, not fun.
It is fun though.
It is. It can't be fun.
Yeah. Either one
Feel
works.
free. Feel free to comment in the chat box where you're joining from. Mike, you're in the San Francisco Bay Area?
That's correct. Yeah. In the city proper, and right now at our office, little co-working office that we have in the downtown area, which is nice to be at.
Nice. Very jealous. I'm in the cold mountains of Pennsylvania right now. Very jealous of some San Francisco weather.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to look out the window right now then. We don't always have nice days, but today it's a good one. You could tell it's going to be a nice day.
Yeah. Wonderful. Hi guys, welcome. Northern Virginia, welcome. Vaughn and Zelda and Latasha, welcome. Give it one more minute and then we'll jump right in.
Cool. Does the mountains of Pennsylvania mean a lot of snow right now?
Not yet. It's still a tad early, but
okay. But it will mean snow.
Yes. Sometimes like 3 feet.
Like
if I walk outside, most of me is gone. If I put my daughter outside, she doesn't exist anymore. If I throw her out. Yeah, it gets really bad. And the issue that we have is that it starts kind of late, like it maybe won't kick in until December, but then we'll have snow in May.
Oh,
so as the rest of the world is warming up, we're still.
I think I'd take it in like October to February. I'd rather that be my timing.
Yeah. Oh man, January and February are brutal out here. We get like -10-degree days. It's terrible. It's really terrible. Really selling it. Really selling it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you'd be a great realtor for that area.
Oh, that's funny. Alrighty, it is 1:01. We're gonna jump right into this. So to everybody who's with us, welcome. Today we have with us Mike Haig. Mike is on the partnership team at Fundbox, which is a financial platform specifically for small businesses. So Mike himself has spent the last 10 years specializing in improving business operations, driving growth and revenue, and building customer success strategies that actually work, which is no easy feat. So kudos. And I'm really, really excited for this talk because today Mike is going to introduce you all to what Fundbox does and how you as small business owners who want to spend more time designing and less time figuring out how you're going to juggle the financial aspect of the business can utilize these services to take a lot of the guesswork and just the anxiety out of the process. So our hope today is that you walk away with a new resource and just greater confidence that you can continue to scale your business. So with that said, welcome, Mike, and thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm very, very honored and privileged to be here. I know you've got a great team and great kind of audience or customers, so it's really, really excited. I'm gonna spin it back on you, and if you don't mind, I've got 2 important topics to cover right off the bat, 2 icebreakers. So the first question I have for you is, this is an important debate at Fundbox. Like this gets people out of their chairs ready to fight. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Agreed. That's the right. If you'd like to chime in on the Zoom, please feel free. But there actually is a surprisingly large contingency of people who do think a hot dog is a sandwich.
I would agree that I don't know what I would call it otherwise, but I certainly wouldn't call it a sandwich. I would just think hot dog stands alone.
Yeah, it's its own category. And the second is, does pineapple belong on pizza?
This does get people angry. Um, no.
Ooh,
I know
okay.
you're from California though. It's different. It's different on the
Yeah.
East Coast. If you say you like pineapple on pizza on the East Coast, someone will fight you. So
Okay. Okay. Well, protect yourself. Those
I
get
think
really good stuff. Good conversation starters.
yeah, definitely. If you guys have an opinion one way or the other, do hit up the chat box here.
Yes.
Let me check it. And also, as we're going through this talk today, if you guys have any questions for Mike, add them to the Q&A, which is just an icon on the bottom of your screen there. If you type it into the chat box, that's okay too. Let's see. Martha says pineapple can be great on pizza. Martha, where are you from?
Yeah.
I think this is an East Coast, West Coast situation.
Martha get the gold star. That's great. All right, Toronto.
Oh, Toronto. Okay. Awesome. I feel like everyone unanimously agrees though that a hot dog is not a sandwich, but if anyone wants to argue that point, by all means, we'll come full circle later on. Alrighty. To get into the meat and potatoes of the discussion today, I gave a very generalized explanation just now of what Fundbox is. So to start, can you tell us a little bit more about who Fundbox aims to serve and what kinds of problems are your customers facing?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good place to start, even before what we do. Maybe just talk about who we serve and why. So we are just kind of maniacally focused on small businesses, which for us typically falls into two different camps. So one is B2C, but then the other side, of course, is B2B, and we serve both. For us, often what we see is B2B businesses are often, we almost sometimes forget about them, right? We think of our local restaurant, our local grocery store. We think of going to a local boutique down our street as a small business, but the majority of small businesses in the US are actually B2B. So they are the food vendors that serve those restaurants, or the janitorial services, or commercial landscaping. Or maybe commercial interior design. So we see the world in two ways, B2B and B2C. And what we typically see is B2B has a big challenge with unpaid invoices, right? So just collecting money from customers can often be hard. And I think this might resonate with the audience, or with you, Rachel, just with your industry of just, for various reasons. Maybe it's just the billing cycle. Maybe it's because of the terms in the contract. Maybe it's because of customers forget. Maybe it's because, as many of our customers will tell us, silence that. Many of our customers will tell us that it's just hard and they don't like asking for money from their customers. We hear that. So that just leaves a lot of money of outstanding invoices that many businesses are wrestling with. And our goal is to help businesses overcome those cash flow gaps, right? So I like to use an example of, like, Rick, the roofer, has to buy materials and buy supplies and pay his crew before he does a job. But he's not going to get paid on that job maybe until 15 or 20 days after it's done. And you're kind of nodding your head, because I think this is very familiar with I say Jane, the interior designer, who's in a similar situation. That can create cash flow challenges. So our goal is to help small businesses who are doing good work, creative types, they're great at their craft, but sometimes just struggle with maybe the cash flow side of things for various reasons. That's who we're serving, and love to kind of talk to all day, every day.
Absolutely. And I think I know from my own experience, when I first kind of launched, I just kind of did it and I didn't have the financial aspect figured out. And exactly like you said, I was uncomfortable communicating, hey, I need to be paid, to my client. And I also didn't take the time at the onset to define exactly when those payments were to be due. So my customer or my client wasn't trying to not pay me intentionally, but there was no clarity on when I was even supposed to get paid. And then on my end, I'm going, how do I have this conversation with them? And then it kind of becomes this
Yeah.
uncomfortable tension there. So for
Yeah.
people who like myself kind of didn't figure out that process in the onset, you kind of
Yeah.
have to get burned and then learn, all right, I need to have some systems in place, but still, even with those systems in place, there's no guarantee.
Even like home services, even just take a plumber who comes, or the roofer I mentioned, or maybe a local pest inspection. You'd be shocked at how often they forget to ask you to pay. I mean, that's changing a little bit, I think, because there's new software for small businesses and very focused on helping these really individualized verticals, things, folks like yourself and Foyer. But sometimes I've had home services where I had to kind of remind them that I needed to pay after they were done with maybe multiple visits, because it took one visit, then two visits, got to buy a part for the toilet problem, whatever. Hey, by the way, I need to pay you. So that's typically what we see, or what our small businesses tell us, is just because, and you alluded to this just now, is they're really good at their jobs. Like, world's best interior designer. Rick is the world's best roofer. He's been doing that for 30 years. It's in his blood. But that doesn't mean that Rick is great at, or really even wants to be, oftentimes great at managing the books and cash flow and things like that. So that's often the type of customer that we're working with and helping, because they're successful, they love what they do. It's just there's this challenge sometimes with cash flow for various reasons that we've talked about.
Absolutely. And Rick and I have a lot in common. Not good at it and has no desire to be good at it. I'd much rather delegate that responsibility and focus on what I love to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So designers are really both of those customers. We're business to business because we do work directly with vendors, and we're also working directly with our clients. So we have it kind of coming from both directions in that way.
Yeah, that's totally common, right? Think of a landscape company, yeah, who's they are B2C in the sense that a landscaping company or interior designer, the C is a household, a family, a home. But then think of all the payments and things that they're having to buy, interior design, just to kind of keep the business moving on the vendor side, on the wholesale side. And that's where just things get muddy and things get difficult. And that's where we want to help with any time that you feel there's this cash flow gap, there's this challenge with, can I make my small payroll on Friday, because I'm not supposed to get paid by the customer until Tuesday. And sometimes they forget, they don't even pay me on Wednesday. So those gaps, those little moments in time where things are good, the business is healthy, it just feels tight. That's what we're trying to find and think about.
Gotcha. And take some of that stress out. So one of the things that I noticed when I first went to your webpage that was refreshing is just how streamlined and really simplistic Funbox has made my options. There's definitely a thing, or such a thing as too many options, especially when you're dealing with something, and I'm speaking purely for myself right now, I'm far more creatively inclined than I am financially savvy. So when I head to a website and there's a million different options, I become so overwhelmed that I never actually take action. So it's the truth. And I think people get paralyzed by
because the menu's too big.
Yeah, exactly. You get fearful of making the wrong decision when you have a million decisions. So I liked that Funbox keeps it simple, keeps it straightforward. And with that said, can you explain to us what the two options are that Funbox offers and where they would be most applicable?
Yeah, definitely. So what we're, with all those problems that we just talked about, our challenges and kind of opportunities, how we're trying to help is by giving small businesses access to business credit. And so I like to say that we aim for access, speed, and flexibility. And so what that looks like is access, or the kind of, and the products are, it's a business line of credit or a term loan. So we have two different products, both with the end goal of providing you, the small business owner, capital or kind of cash that you can potentially use for all those reasons we just discussed. So the onboarding experience, or kind of seeing if you are eligible and would be approved, is fast. It's very in line with what many of us are used to in our day-to-day of just, why would I need to walk down to my physical bank and apply for a line of credit and supply tons and tons of paperwork when everything I do is basically just online, and I should be able to do it in 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, which is common for our onboarding process. So our businesses can apply online to see if they qualify for that small business line of credit or a term loan. I'll explain the difference in those two. That might help as well. So the first, a line of credit, is basically the idea of giving you access to capital or to cash, and you can tap into that whenever you need, right? So you are approved for an amount of money, but you don't need it right now, and that's fine. It's sitting there waiting for you. And if you want to tap into your line of credit, you can do it anytime, maybe because you've got payroll coming up. When you tap into that line of credit, you'll get the funds typically within 24 hours into your bank account, which is fast. And that's a very, very important part of our small business, kind of the help they need is that speed. And then you would pay that back over either 12 or 24 weeks. As you pay it back, your credit is replenished. So many times our small businesses are using their credit for multiple reasons, maybe at a time. So maybe they need to make one small draw because they need to pay for this merchandise or this kind of wholesale supplies. And then 2 days later, they need to make another draw, and they're drawing so they can make payroll. And as they pay that back, their credit is replenished and they have access to it again. So I like to think of a line of credit kind of as like this operational tool that you can use as you need to. The nice thing there, and kind of the flexibility part, is it doesn't cost anything if you're not using it. You could have it as a rainy day fund and not pay anything. If you decide to use it, there's no fees just to start using the product, often called an origination fee in our world. There's no origination fees. And then you can pay it back early if you want, and not pay a whole bunch of fees. So with no early repayment fees or prepay penalties. So maybe you get that big check from a customer that you knew was going to come on Tuesday. You can pay off your credit. You're back to square one, and you avoid a whole bunch of fees and and prepayment fees that maybe you'd find elsewhere. So that's how the line of credit works, and it's a good tool for businesses that, like you described, have these kind of multiple angles going on: paying from the customer, vendors, wholesale, maybe employees, and things like that.
Gotcha.
The term loan's a little bit different in that it's more just a traditional loan. You have 24 or 52 weeks. We give you an upfront amount. If you agree to that, you have the option of either when you're approved. And if you choose to go with the term loan, it's typically a little bit larger, which is why many businesses like that. So they can maybe say, hey, I had a business recently who took a term loan, and it was because they wanted the supplies they need for their work were on sale, or kind of like hey, this is a seasonal discount right now. But what if I buy a whole bunch of those right now, or that right now, so I can get that seasonal discount? Oh, I can use my term loan to pay for that, pay back Fundbox over however many weeks they need, 24, 52, not get dinged if I pay it back early, but get that discount on the seasonal supplies. It's like it's like you're buying Halloween candy the day after Halloween so you can have it saved up for next year. And that's basically what it was doing. So sometimes that's a large purchase though, and a term loan is typically larger in the amount that we can offer. And so that's a good time for a term loan if you've got large capital expenses that are kind of predictable right there in front of you, and you want to pay, and then you can pay it back over a certain amount of time. So the line of credit and the term loan, but with speed and access and flexibility being the unique angles on that we're trying to do. It's different than the rest of the industry.
Nice. And so what types of kind of levels of establishment are you looking for businesses? I know that we spoke about this, and there is flexibility, and that's one of the really nice things that you spoke about. Oftentimes with banks, it's like a black and white, yes or no. If you don't fit every single bill down to the number, you're out. Yeah. And it's very impersonal in that way, but Fundbox does not operate in the same way. So for our audience who's interested in whether or not they would qualify, what is kind of the general guideline? But again, there's flexibility. It reminds me of almost like taking the SATs, right? You can be a little bit higher on the one end, a little bit lower on the other end. It's more kind of where the median lies.
Yeah. So, and I'll reiterate a point you just made of the kind of the old way of doing this process was often, and still is sometimes, just time consuming. It can take weeks potentially to get a decision from a big bank or a traditional lender. A ton of paperwork might be required. Like I said, sometimes you have to go in person, and sometimes there's just very strict requirements because banks don't like risk, and small businesses are often, it's expensive to even come up with, it's called underwriting, to underwrite a small business, because it takes time. You got to pay somebody to do it. It's expensive. It's every business is different. There's no perfect scorecard for small businesses. Consumers kind of have that scorecard. We have a FICO. We have some things that we're all kind of put in this scorecard. Small businesses, Jane's interior design is much different than Rick's roofing, which is much different than Bob's restaurant. So it's very expensive for banks to do that. So we have kind of models built and kind of fancy technology with millions of data points over time to understand businesses as best as we can. What we typically look for is ideally 6 months in business, and ideally a 600 plus FICO, and then as well as $100,000 in annual revenue. And sometimes a common question we get is, well, what if I don't have that, or I've only been in business for 6 months? How would you kind of account for that? That's where we trust the models that we've built to run the data as a whole bunch of different ways and kind of understand more about your business. So maybe in 6 months you've only made a certain amount. We're going to take all that into account and say ideally we have these minimums, but maybe a little bit less of a guaranteed check no than some of the other places that you might go. And we'll do our best to potentially provide a decision and do our best to approve as well. So I saw some comments about being in, I think, Johannesburg and Toronto. Unfortunately, we're US based only. Banking is hard as you go into other countries. So unfortunately, we're in the US only. As soon as we decide to go international, I'll raise my hand and say, I'll go work on that project. That'd be fun. But US based as well as a part of the process, or as part of the onboarding.
Gotcha. Thank you for answering that. For some reason, my Q&A is popping up, but not my chat box. So I'm glad we're able to tag team that today. And I just want to piggyback off of what you were saying about the accessibility of Fundbox. And like we were saying, we were talking earlier, I live up in the mountains. I live in a very small town. We have local banks here, and It is excruciating, the process that you have to go through. They don't even have online banking at my local bank. So they reset your password every 30 days. And then to make a new password, you can't go online. You have to go between 9 and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday to physically change your password with a human being. It's the most antiquated system I've ever had. I'm like, what if I open my bank account on a Saturday and now I have no access to my money until 9 a.m. on Monday because you guys haven't, progressed with the times. And as a small business owner, I would never, ever open an account or take money or, open up a loan rather with this local bank, because it's not realistic to my needs as a human being in 2021, but also especially as a business owner, where you need to be able to make decisions quickly. So the fact that you guys have that 24-hour rollover for funds to be available, the fact that people don't have to physically stop what they're doing in the middle of their workday, but rather open up a tab on their computer and get everything started is such a huge asset that I think we take for granted in a lot of other areas of our life, but banking and financial institutions are really slow on the uptake sometimes.
Especially for small businesses. I mean, it's an underserved area that's catching up. And we just realized that years ago. And then we also realized, to kind of piggyback that comment, of just, you're human beings too. Like, you have families and things to do at night, and work is stressful, and you're great at this and don't want to deal with the bank and all that. So we're very aware of just, our small business owners are small business owners, but also people that just want to make this experience delightful, or at a minimum, just possible and easy for our small business owners, which is sometimes just access and a feeling they don't get. We just had a kind of a video call with a customer, a testimonial, and he's a truck driver actually, and he said, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never had a bank or financial institution just call me to kind of ask how things are going and hear my feedback on the product, whether good or bad, hear my feedback and learn about kind of my experience, me, your customer. And there's a lot of high fives in the office when that happened, because it just feels good to know that for us, we want that to feel normal enough. If you don't need that, you just want to log into our portal, great. Like, it's easy, it's meant to do that. But we're here for you, like as a company, as a product, as a people.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on that in a little bit more detail in a second. I think it's a really good point that there is businesses that really want to serve people, or businesses or small businesses in general, need to find, everything used to be in person and very slow. And then we went to the complete opposite direction where everything became automated. And that was equally as frustrating because you didn't have a human being to speak to. Everything became, pressing a number and getting connected to some automated message. So finding that middle ground where you have the speed of automation with the personalization of a human being on the line is really that sweet spot for anything, but especially when you're dealing with something as delicate and as important to your business as its financial health.
Money.
So yeah, as money, which makes the world go round, right? Unfortunately, it's the reality. So one thing that we pride ourselves on at Foyer is the onboarding process that we provide to our customers when they first started out with the software, and just the continued support that we provide for them. For the design community who, like myself, feel a little unsure with within the financial realm, what types of support does Funbox offer to kind of ease that anxiety?
Yeah, so I'm going to use the word onboarding, which essentially means kind of applying for the credit, seeing if you are approved. We have a team that is standing by ready to talk. So we have a support team that's always available. Maybe you're a current customer and you just have a question about which bank you're using for getting your funds, things like that. But during the onboarding specifically, which to your point is where often the most questions, I'm the most concerned, I'm not new to this. We have an onboarding team that our applicants are kind of assigned to, and they are available to reach out to. They very well might be proactively reaching out to the small business if we see they're stuck in the onboarding or if they haven't completed it, and offer up any questions. I mean, a common note that you'll see in our customer kind of interactions, just customer had a question on the difference between a term loan and a line of credit. That's a common question, and we just want to take care of that if we can, if that would help them with their onboarding vocally. Instead of just our website. Now, both are helpful, but if we need to, we can take care of that person to person. So during that onboarding process, when oftentimes questions, concerns pop up, that's when we would take care of that. And then ongoing, you would also have access to an account specialist who can continue to help with those questions. How we call it a dashboard walkthrough, just to make sure once you're approved, you are in the dashboard, you understand it, this is where I would see how much I have available. This is where I'd see the credit that I've already used. This is where I would easily see my payback, kind of times and cadence. Again, it's easy. It's meant to be, but it's also very important. And a special part of your business is your money. So we'll have somebody available to help with that. So I like the way you put it. We can kind of go one way or the other on automation, or just requiring this uber time-consuming human interaction. But what if we kind of get there in the middle and try to make it as easy as possible, but have humans available? That's a good landing spot for us in a kind of a business that's we're serving so many small businesses. That's a good landing spot for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming from a software company myself, and I'm training designers on a regular basis, it's very easy to, when you're so versed in a software, to forget that somebody who's a complete novice, the dashboard is not necessarily as, it's the interface is meant to be easy, but it doesn't mean that there are no questions there. So I love, just from a potential customer to Fundbox myself, that I know that I would have access to somebody walking me through, here's where you locate this, rather than just kind of aimlessly guessing, and being able to have that kind of communication at the onset, so that any confusion is cleared, and I feel really empowered to then move forward and make the most of the service that I'm you know, getting
Yeah,
access.
don't take it for granted. You're a FOIA expert. Somebody who just signed
That's
up.
where it ends. Let me tell you, when it comes to software, that's where it begins and ends.
No. You got the right, so you're an expert in that.
Yeah, Justin, when it comes to technology, my expertise are in FOIA and EL, and don't ask me to open a Word document and we'll be good. But awesome. Thank you so much. I want to quick pull up the Q&A. Okay, how are we supposed to be approved? I think we already answered that. And can you use your business EIN/name?
Great question. Yes. In fact, that's part of the onboarding, is so that we have your business name and EIN. That is included in the onboarding process. So yes.
And I see that we have, are you able to access the chat right now?
I think
a little trouble with the window. Speaking of being technologically inept, let me try and pull this up once more, guys. There it is. Pineapple can be great on pizza. Well, welcome from South Africa. Ditto, love pineapple and pizza. I can't believe pineapple and pizza is winning. Okay. Hot dog is not a sandwich. Great.
Coming in with the important items.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, any new questions that come up? Is there anything that we didn't touch on, Mike, that you think is important for the audience to know?
Oh, there was a question that just popped into the Q&A. I just saw it. How do you determine the interest rate? Which is a great question. So I mentioned earlier that we're using a ton of data points about your business, and which is years in the making of these models that we built up over time. And that's, it's kind of fancy technology behind the scenes, but that's what we're trying to do to understand just wide swaths of business. And that's essentially how we come up with the interest rate. And it's actually a fee, and I'll explain that in a second. But based on your business's kind of past performance, everything we see, it's essentially a risk model that we're using to see what the fee rate should be. So that's just all that data is captured during the onboarding, which again takes 3 to 5 minutes, but gives us a lot of information. So maybe I should mention, if there's 2 things that you can hook up during the onboarding. So a business checking account gives us, and that's done through a secure connection through kind of a gateway that's all systems go on security and compliance and things like that. So that we can understand kind of what your business checking account looks like. And then also, a lot of our customers use an accounting software. So maybe like QuickBooks is super common. I bet most folks have either heard of that or maybe used it or maybe use it now. FreshBooks is another one. If you use that to send invoices and to kind of run your business, hooking that up as well is super easy. It's kind of a 1 or 2 click process. Gives us more data about your business. So instead of asking you to walk down to the bank and supply us a bunch of paperwork, we're just saying, give us and kind of open up that data. And that's how we do it to understand your business, potentially approve, and then provide an interest rate or a fee rate. So the difference between an interest rate and a fee rate, we're actually providing more of like it's a fee versus kind of compounding interest. So let's say that you were approved for, in fact, can I share my screen? This might be even easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna, I have this up. If you go to funbox.com, you can see kind of how our fee structure works. And you can see my screen, Rachel?
Yeah.
Cool. So this is available on our website. You could go play with it yourself. So let's say you take a $2,000 line of credit and you say, I'm going to pay this back over 12 weeks. You have the option for 12 or 24 weeks. I'm going to pay it back over 12 weeks. So, and then hit enter. So based on our rates start at 4.66% as a fee rate. So if that was the case, if you paid it back over all 12 weeks, you would pay equal amount every week. So every week from 0 to 12, your payment amount is the same. And what small businesses told us is they like that. They like kind of the predictability and the ease of understanding that my payments are the same every week.
Definitely.
And then you would pay, principal and fees each week over the course of that line of credit if you pay it back all 12 weeks. And so weeks 1 through 4, you're going to pay a little bit more in fees each week. Weeks 5 through 12, you're going to pay a little bit less in fees. It's the same amount every week. So that's one way to just kind of understand how our fees work. You can change this amount as well. So I could do 5,000. I'd pay a little bit more each week, obviously, because I'm borrowing a little bit more money. And this is what my fees would be for weeks 1 through 4 and 5 through 12. So that's kind of how our fee rate works. A little bit different than like compounding interest. What's cool about this, I mentioned it earlier, but you can pay back your loan or your credit early. So let's say 3 weeks in, you get your big check from a big customer. You can pay all this back. You've already paid for a couple weeks as part of your normal payment schedule, but you can pay it all back at once. Avoid, not pay the fees for weeks 3 through 12, and you get your credit replenished. You'd be back to full amount of credit available, and you can go along your merry way and maybe draw on your credit a little later as well. So many of our customers are paying back early just based on their cash flow to not have to pay these fees. But if you do go the full 12 weeks, that's what the fees would look like. This is based on a 4.66%, which is the lowest that we go.
Gotcha. For the application process, how does that hit your credit, or does it hit your credit?
So there is no hard pull on your credit just to apply. So no cost, no hard pull on your credit to get a decision or to be approved. We do a hard pull on your credit if you choose to use the funds. So let's say you're approved and for $5,000 and in a week, you say, okay, now I need to use the credit. I want to draw down $5,000. That first time we would make a hard pull on the credit. But if you just simply apply and not until you actually use it, would we do a hard pull on your credit?
That's good to know, because typically if you're applying for a credit card through a bank, that's not the case. It is going to be a hard hit. And then if you're not approved and you have to go elsewhere, that kind of compounds. So that's good to know. Good to know for sure. Let me pull up this Q&A here. I just had another question pop into my head while you were speaking and it escaped me. Here and gone. All
right.
No worries. Alrighty, we'll give you guys a couple more minutes if any other questions roll in, and we'll go from there. Hi to everybody who joined after we started. Welcome.
Oh, there's a good question. It's very good to know about the hard pull and credit report. If I'm using my business name, will that build credit for my business? Right now, no, as unfortunately, it's not a credit building tool. We get that question a lot. We're thinking about it, but as of now, it would not be.
So with that in mind, I know when you pay off, say you pay off like the term loan, when you pay off a loan in other areas of life, that actually can negatively impact your credit. Your credit score could be lowered. So pay off a car loan and you'll notice, even though you've just paid off all this debt, your credit score has decreased. And you're thinking why, but it's actually because now there's this absence of kind of I say credit history, but like an opportunity to prove that you can pay something back. So it's kind of
very
backward
confusing
thinking
part of
there.
consumer credit of I close a credit card and therefore my credit goes down when I'm using less debt.
Exactly. So when you pay off a term loan with Fundbox, if it's not credit building, does that also mean that it wouldn't negatively impact your credit score?
As far as I'm aware, that's correct. Yeah, we wouldn't, we're not, that would kind of be reciprocate on the other side as well, paying off as well as paying it back. So I'll triple check on that, Rachel. And if we want to like email the audience, happy to, just to make sure. I don't like leaving questions unanswered, but I'd rather just triple check on that. I'll do that and get back to you as quickly as I can.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. I would assume so. That seems like it would make sense, which is good to know, because sometimes you get to have that relief of paying something off and then you have that kind of back end.
Right.
Alrighty, guys. Okay. Oh, you know what? I want to put in the chat box a link. Oh,
Is there a question?
there was something in the chat. And just give me 1 second. I'm having issues pulling up my chat today. Okay, there we go. Vaughn says today is Veterans Day, and I'm so happy that I signed up for this course. I will be contacting you all very soon. I'm an interior decorator stylist, and lately I've been using credit cards to purchase items, etc. But I would like to have other options of how to obtain money. That's great. I'm glad that this was useful to you. Vaughn, I'm going to send right now in the chat box before you leave. This is the link that you can use. It'll take you directly to the site to start the process with Funbox to hopefully grow your business.
Yeah, thanks, Fawn. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I'm going to put my email address in there as well. Feel free to reach out with questions. What I often do, just so everyone knows, is depending on what the question is, I'll make sure that either I answer it or get you in touch with my support or onboarding team if it's something a little bit more kind of in the trenches of during the onboarding experience. There's people that are trained and smart and experts and way smarter than me in making sure for those questions, but they're available and ready to go. So if I take your question and work through somebody else, just know that's intentional and you'll be in good hands. Awesome.
Thank you so much. And thanks for handing out your email address to the audience.
I trust this audience. They seem like good people. I'll throw my email address.
They like pineapple on their pizza, so.
Yeah. That's a good test.
They passed the test, yeah. Alrighty, guys. Well, cool. Thank you, Mike, for, I completely forgot today was a holiday as well. So, oh, where is this even? Oh, Vaughn, it's in the
There we go. I did
box. It's right above your comment there.
I did, I think I did just.
And there's just one more question popping up there as well. Okay, great, Vaughn. So one more quick question. You did also mention the annual revenue for a business that has been operating for at least 6 months. What is the minimum annual revenue amount again?
That's 100,000. And what I'll do is if you go to our website, I'm going to show something.
Sure.
Really quick. This is helpful. We try to be as transparent as possible. So on our website, this is on our line of credit product. We list out here, and both of these are kind of ideally 6 months and ideally $100,000 in revenue.
So if they've only been in business for 6 months, does that mean 50,000 in revenue is acceptable, or is that still where it kind of gets a little bit more?
Yeah, we're going to take a whole lot of factors and to understand, because you're right, the kind of the prorating. I mean, what we're going to do is look at as much as data as we possibly can, and then make a decision. So if it's haven't been in business for a year but asking for annual revenue, we're going to account for that.
Right. Okay. And I think, like you said, the AI has the ability to really make predictions about the health of the business.
Yeah, that's our goal.
For a year out. Gotcha. Okay. So let us know if that answers your question. Let me pull up this Q&A again. Latasha asks, you did also mention this might be another. What is
Looks
the
like it's
minimum? Oh, sorry. Okay, they just copied and pasted it to the chat because we were looking at the chat. Okay, so same question. Hope that answers your question, Latasha. Alrighty, let's see. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here quietly. So many issues with my chat today. Alrighty, there we go.
Yeah,
Okay,
share
so
that
yeah.
I was looking at, and then what I'll also do, it's on our website, but I'll also share that pricing calculator that I did.
Oh, can you share your screen and show us that real quick just before we?
The pricing calculator?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so that's the one. That's
Oh, the one that you just showed us. Gotcha.
I just share that link. Again, it's on the website. It's not hard to find, but easier just to click it straight from there.
Yeah, this is a really nice tool to have. Fantastic. And you guys should have access to all of the links. Our partnership with Funbox is there as well. That link, you have Mike's email. If you need it, I'm Rachel@foyer.com, which I'm always a resource as well for you guys. And otherwise, I think we're at 1:45 now. Thanks. We'll say thank you to you, Mike. This was really a great talk. I'm glad just for myself to have a better understanding of this process and to know that there is services outside of banks going to a bank directly that focus specifically on this niche of small business owners. So that's really great to know. And this was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's an honor to be here, and yeah, really appreciate it.
Awesome. All righty, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Thanks. Bye.